Hello, my name is Ferenc and I'm here with Paulo Nunes from 2Impulse, a company offering artificial intelligence solutions. And I have a short interview with him now about several questions. Okay, Paulo.
Hi, Ferenc.
Hi, Paulo. How come that you are in the field of AI now? Can you please tell us something about your background?
My background is computer science. So I have a degree in computer science, and back then I did my master's in artificial intelligence. So It was 2003. I spent a year doing my master thesis at the European Space Agency in Germany, in Darmstadt, close to Frankfurt. And there I worked with an innovation team, actually. It was not a very hot topic back then.
I can believe that,
But we developed models, basically. My master thesis was a model for forecasting of temperatures of a satellite. So and that's how I got in the field of artificial intelligence. After that, I moved to the European Southern Observatory in Munich, in Germany, where I worked there as a scientific software engineer, so to speak.
Okay.
It was not called data scientist at the time. Now it would be called, I think, data scientist. It's a bit of a mix between a software engineer and a data scientist. But there I worked with intelligence systems capable of dealing with lots of data. So from my university degree, throughout my career, I've been very directly involved with the topic. Okay.
And when would you say did the whole AI stuff kick in? So when was the time when you realized, okay, this field is taking off and there's maybe commercial value in it?
Well, that's not so long ago, I believe. When I finished my master degree back in 2003, I started looking for opportunities in the field in artificial intelligence, and I couldn't find any jobs.
Okay, right? Not surprisingly.
I could, but I was looking also for PhD opportunities. There weren't that many. So the only thing that I found was in Australia.
Okay.
That I had a chance to get into. There were not a lot of positions for that, and I think it's becoming a more hot topic in the last, let's say, 5 years, and then more business topic, let's say, right? Because artificial intelligence as a discipline has been there for a long time, since the 60s or 70s. Most of the science developed for that has been there for 30 years. Right? The math and all the algorithms have been there. Most of them are there. They just call them different names now. In business, it's becoming a topic I would say for the last 5 years. I think that's related to how easy some of these things became and how accessible they are now. Like companies like Microsoft, IBM, Google are providing some of these capabilities as a service, out of the box. They become a commodity. Like 20 years ago, a sort algorithm was a library. Now there is machine learning as a library. Very easy to use for a programmer. And this opens a whole lot of new possibilities very, very quickly bringing that into the business.
We are now right in the commercial application, and that is what is your company also about. Can you tell us something about your services and about maybe an exemplary customer project?
All right. So, I'll go a little back to my background. So, after the observatory, I went into the industry and I worked for an insurance company for 5 years, right?
Yeah.
And I was in an innovation unit there. where our task was really to introduce artificial intelligence in these in business processes and all that. So I gained some experience in that field in introducing artificial intelligence technology in the company, in a large company, in a global business. And so last year I quit my job. I started my own business around a year ago, and so I decided that I would like to start a company and provide services in this area to other companies, coming from the experience that I had in the past. So, for example, a project that we did for a customer is in the area of contracts. So we help this company being smarter in the way they deal with classic contracts, so to speak. So this is in the insurance business. What we did, we came up with a solution that, let's call it like kind of a contract specialist, a software system that is able to understand a contract almost like a specialist. So that's, or at least that's the sales pitch.
And what do you mean by understand?
Yeah, exactly. Understand, that's a very vague term, I agree. So understand is, first of all, not seeing a contract is basically a text document, right? It starts from there. It's basically having a software that is able, or a computer that is able to understand that a contract is not just a sequence of letters and words, but it's actually made of different concepts, right? And that these concepts are related, and that they're also related to other information that exists in the company.
Okay,
right?
I see. I get the point.
So it starts from there to bringing that to the next level. Now, after you have those concepts, and that your contract is interpreted not as a large sequence of words anymore, but rather as a set of concepts that are related to each other, then you can start doing more smarter things, and you can start asking questions. For example, are there contracts that are similar to this one, right?
Okay, like concepts like an apple is a fruit, and fruits are something you can eat in this sense, and therefore you can sell them in grocery stores.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then, for example, when you are, let's very example of use of this capability is, for example, when you are negotiating a contract with a partner. You usually get a draft or proposal from them, right? And you get someone to review it, right? Now, we built a software that is able to do that review, at least the first pass of the contract, and immediately point you out at the interesting parts of the contract and tell you what other contracts are similar to that, what other contracts have that sort of clauses with the same customer, with similar customers. It really does a kind of pre-screening job that is usually done by people, right? By a contract specialist or a paralegal, somebody like that. And then after that first pass, this is sent to the legal department of a company. This is classical process. Well, this first step is no longer needed. Yeah. So when the contract arrives to the legal specialist, to the legal counsel of the company, it's already reviewed. Okay. And the only thing that the counsel needs to look at is really the interesting things. It's the parts that require a deep expertise in the subject, in the topic.
So only the humans, so to say, get the cream. They get the refined 1% of the results.
Yes, they get to actually use their experience and use their brain in a very efficient way, because they don't need to do the boring review of every single word of the contract anymore. Okay. Right? This is tedious work. Imagine you have highly paid legal specialists reviewing contracts. This actually happens because, well, I mean, it starts by you have the legal specialists, the paralegals that are usually have a lower salary than a lawyer, than a legal counsel, but still they're specialists and they need to review every word of the contract. They pass that over, right, to the lawyer. I mean, and the lawyer needs to review it again and look through the notes. And these are humans in the end. They will miss things, and it's not going to be perfect.
Okay.
So what we do is remove this tedious work away completely from people, give it to the machine. The machine is very good at doing that, at finding all the details, and then just point out kind of a summarized version of what the computer has read to the specialist, and they're able to actually make use of their very expensive
time,
exactly, yeah. To do the real job. That's what they hire for, not to do tedious work.
Okay. To step back from this example and fly a bit higher and take the high ground, so to say again, what you say? Why is the subject of AI relevant as a total, and why should companies which are not in the AI sector or also not in the IT sector, so companies which are not in the IT sector deal with it at all?
Well, I mean, the example that I just gave you is from a company that is not a tech company. It's an insurance. They are in the insurance business. So, I mean,
I was hoping for other examples.
Exactly. It's not IBM or Microsoft. It's not a tech. There's not a tech company. So the point here is, why do they need to worry about this? Because, well, it's market pressure, right? It's pressure coming from the market. And why? Because AI is creating new opportunities that didn't exist before. And I see at least two of them. I'm simplifying it, but one of them is improving processes and really improving efficiency of an organization, right? Which is the example that I just gave you. Efficiency of processes, efficiency of even of finding new business. I mean, companies have existing processes that can be improved and optimized by using technology, artificial intelligence. This is point number one. Point number two is that it opens also opportunities for complete new and different business models that are disruptive, right? And for example,
something like blockchain for the finance sector, for example.
Yeah, blockchain it disrupts, for example, the previous example that I just gave you, which it basically makes room for smart contracts, right? Smart contracts made old contracts completely obsolete. So it's not an efficiency improvement in an existing process of way of doing business, but it's rather a completely different way of doing this. The same business. But it just eliminates the need for lawyers, for example, because the contracts are enforced automatically. What do you need lawyers for?
Say in the end, we have the AI robot lawyer who also helps settling disputes.
Exactly. So exactly. So this is the disruptive aspect of it. So, and if you take, let's say, insurance, there is you can think of, for example, a company called Lemonade, which is a completely digital insurance business. Right? So, again, this is not taking an existing business and existing processes and improving them. So there's a lot of pressure there, and a lot of companies are doing that. So if you want to stay competitive, you need to do that too. Right? This is one reason. The other reason is this, for example, there's new business model. There's, for example, digital insurance, and that as opposed to a classical insurance that has processes that are based on people and it's trying to improve these processes with the help of technology, they do it the other way around. They have a purely digital business with processes that are digitally designed from scratch, and then they support those with people. That's the other way around. And this has a completely different cost structure and puts enormous pressure on the classic business, right? Because they just all of a sudden they have just 20% of the cost of the others. And they offer a service which might not be of the same value, but it's of similar value. All right, and in many times it's even better because it's more efficient. So that's the reason why most businesses nowadays, or at least a lot of them, need to understand that AI is a topic that they need to look at. So they either need to improve the way they work, or they need to think about new ways of doing the business they're already doing.
When I'm now thinking on the company level and also on the individual level, and I want to move in this field of AI technology, either as an individual or as a company, what would be your recommendations? Do I have to go study at a university something like AI science, or when I'm 45 it's completely hopeless, or when I'm in the production business and I have 20 employees, can I simply say forget it, or what do you recommend these people?
So in order to introduce this kind of innovation, I think there's two pillars at least. One of them is people, right, and the other one is technology.
Yeah.
Right. It depends, right? There's no straight answer to what you said. But but one of the aspects is, if we're talking about bringing in innovation into an existing production process, for example, you need to train your people in.
Definitely, yeah.
Right. So because some of these people will be the ones that will help you introduce this innovation. So this is about people. It's not just about technology, right? And introducing this kind of innovation needs also a change of mindset.
Okay.
So, and this needs to be done with people. So you need to train. Well, I mean, let's say you have a factory and you have a production manager, right?
Yeah.
So you probably need to train this person in a certain, I mean, at least into understanding what kind of innovation can be done in this field, in the area of production, using these AI techniques. So, or send them to a conference, send them to something, a place where they can get some energy and ideas and motivated to this kind of change. So you need a kind of, it's not technical training, it's kind of a change in mindset.
Yes, you think it's important to open the mind first.
Exactly.
To get in the right frame of mind, so to say.
Exactly.
See the challenges,
right,
and be open for new ways of thinking, so to say.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So
it's more something like nearly spiritual question.
Yeah, I mean, you need to get the buy-in of your organization into this, right? So this is the first aspect, and for that, how do you do that? The most effective way I've seen is really getting these people some training in this area, sending them to conferences, sending first your middle management to conferences, to events where these topics are discussed, and then possibly sending the other key technical people that you have as well, in order to get a kind of momentum and energy going in the company. Usually people come back energized from these kind of events or conferences, and they want to contribute.
Yeah.
If they're not, they feel left out, and they'll probably try even to stop some of these innovative processes, right?
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to the technology, that's different. Depending on your strategy as a company, if you have IT in-house, if you have IT resources in-house, you might consider either training your people, your IT professionals, but you probably need to hire new people as well, right? Because there's some things that you need fresh blood, you need people that really dedicated their lives or really study these topics and bringing them in. What you probably also need to do, if you have IT, your own IT,
Yeah, and
Right.
what about two more points? So to say, the small company without where the IT department is maybe one guy
Right.
you call from time to time,
Right. So
or also individuals. So to see people who see this wave approaching,
right.
and they want to catch this opportunity. So very small companies and individuals. What would be the approach there?
Well, they need to find a partner probably.
Okay.
They need to find a partner to do so. There are lots of there's lots of small consultancy companies, partner companies that can help them do that. I mean, this is a service that you can buy. Somebody that comes in and helps you introduce a solution in this space.
Okay.
There are companies out there that provide the services like mine. I'm not trying to
It's okay.
advertise my company, my services here, but my company is an example of that. We have experience. We can come into a business and bring and help them introduce that sort of innovation, help them identify where this innovation could be introduced, where the quick wins are, where the longer term projects are, and all these opportunities. But there are other companies, right? It depends on the size of your pocketbook, on the size of your company, organization. It depends on a lot of factors. Also, your vertical, your business vertical. Yeah. So there's people. There is change of mind in the people. There is the technical aspect, training your people. There's the partnerships that you should consider.
So this leads somehow to the next question, like AI technology. Is there a kind of an AI programming language these people need to learn or to tackle, or do you have to hire specialized AI developers? You have answered this question in part, so I hear the answer is no, but the people have to adapt. And is there a kind of special AI language? What would be the answer to that? Is there a kind of Smalltalk or Lisp or a standard in the AI field?
No, there are several tools. I wouldn't say there is one language. There are several different AI toolboxes nowadays that make fairly easy to a developer to quickly put something together. Now but there's other aspects to that. I mean, so you can do things like Python or even Java, Scala. I mean, there's a large tool set nowadays. But it's not much about the language, it's about the capability. So
the language is not that important, it's the thinking that is important.
Yes, exactly.
The mindset you have,
the thinking,
the understanding of this matters.
And the skills, right? So there are lots of good tools out there, but you still need good people. Right?
Okay.
So you still need good people because you need to make the bridge between the problem, the business problem, or what you're trying to achieve, and the actual applied artificial intelligence that you need to do. And this is where the added value of an AI expert comes, right? That's somebody that is able to understand the problem, is able to take the set of tools and find a solution for the problem. And this is really largely still largely dependent on people, how good your AI specialists are, and not so much on the tools. Despite what many companies are claiming out there that AI is like that, my experience tells me that you're going to be as successful as good as the people that you have. I mean, if you have good people, you can be successful. If you don't, I'm afraid there's no magic.
Okay, I see. So it's back to the people and their understanding.
You need good people.
Okay.
And you need, it's mostly about people actually. And you need good people also in the business. There are experts in the business.
Yeah.
In order to be successful, that are embracing this idea and that work together with the AI experts.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's very difficult to be successful.
Question That always pops up with the hype of AI, because before the hype of AI, we had the hype of big data.
Yeah.
What's the difference? We had big data as the smash word of the last decade, and now comes AI.
Well, big data, put very simply, is if you go to if you're going to read the Forbes articles or the whatever articles, even Wikipedia articles about big data, it's around data, right? It's data centric. It's the quantity, the volume, the velocity, and what was the other V? Variety.
I have no idea. Okay, variety. Yeah.
So, and any mixture of these could be called big data, right?
Okay.
And so this is the challenge. And then big data is what it's called. Big data is actually being capable of analyzing this large amount of data, or very varied data, all the combinations of all these. Artificial intelligence is a wider discipline, in my point of view. And big data could be one of the components that is applied in artificial intelligence, together with algorithms, together with other AI techniques that exist. AI is a very vast discipline, where big data, I think, at least from my point of view, is focusing on these topics of, large amounts of data, very much varied data. This kind of, it has to do with volume, variety, and these topics.
Okay, cool.
Did I answer the question?
You answered the question. Moving on to the topic of chatbots and AI, chatbots and AI assistants. Sorry. Everyone is talking now about putting everything to chatbots.
Right.
Chatbots are the death of apps and so on. You need no more apps on your smartphone. In the future, you will only talk with your smartphone, like we know it from Star Trek. So, but if I may ask, number one is, of course, is it a hype? And number two, the second part of this question is, in my view, these are only text adventures with a speech processing interface, like we know it from the 80s.
Right.
So what would your reply be? Is it a hype, and is it basically just a text adventure, 1980, like The Legend of Zork or something?
Okay, so I start with the first question. It's a hype in the sense that it's a very hot topic right now. So I think it's something that it's cool. Let's say right now it's cool to do chatbots. I believe it's a hype in the sense that probably people are trying to solve all problems with chatbots now, right? And exaggerating a little in the sense that the apps will no longer be needed and all that. Okay. This is the death of apps and all that. But on the other hand, I believe this is here to stay, because the interaction with a chatbot, feels far more natural than with an app, right?
Yeah.
And as soon as the technology evolves into even more natural things than typing in your phone or in your keyboard, to speech to text, and as that evolves and becomes better and better, it will definitely be a much nicer and more natural experience than interacting with an app with buttons and tapping things on the screen, right?
Yeah.
So if my phone at some point really works, and I say search Google for this and that, and then you can interact with that with just your voice, why do I need my fingers for? What do I need it for? So I think it's going to be here to stay. Maybe not exactly how it is now, all the chatbots, in the sense that you have to type the text, but it will evolve into something more natural, even more natural than typing text, which is actual speaking to your device.
Like Star Trek is a possibility for the next decades.
Yes, I believe so. Okay. A very realistic one.
Okay, cool.
Probably not everywhere, but Yes, I think it's very, very realistic. I mean, it's getting better and better. If you think Siri 5 years ago and Siri now, I cannot wait to see Siri in 5 years. I mean, I think we'll see very impressive things happening.
So Siri is also growing up.
Yes, exactly. Which brings us to the next.
Would you have an example about what was Siri able to solve? What is Siri able to solve now that was not possible 5 years ago?
Well, I believe that, some of the basic technology improved a lot, like voice recognition.
Yeah.
Right. There's a dramatic improvement there. If you use Siri 5 years ago and use now, you'll see that difference. It's really huge. And I believe, that's an evolution based on not only the technology itself improved, but also Siri has been collecting voices of people for 5 years, right? And it has been learning how to identify them better and better, how to recognize them better and better.
Yeah.
So this is one of the things, but there are others. Other examples.
And the second half was only text adventures.
Right. So I remember text adventures, and I played a couple of them. The text adventures, I think the difference is there. In one sense, there is no difference, right? For example, if you talk about an assistant which is more generic, there is a difference, but there are chatbots nowadays that really, for example, they want to sell you something, right?
Yeah.
Now, they do have a scripted dialogue in there, exactly like in the text adventure before, and their goal is to funnel you into selling a product, right? Exactly like in the text adventure, the goal is for you to complete the adventure, right? And you keep hitting walls here and there, and the text adventure tries to give you clues in order for you to get into that goal, right?
Yeah.
Now, I think the main difference between that and the assistants nowadays is that assistants are more generic, like they don't have one concrete goal, they might have several of them in mind that they can help you with.
Yeah.
Let's say I want to make a phone call, right? You say, I want to make a phone call. This is one. I want to send an email to somebody. This is another. I want to search for information. This is another. So there's different kind of adventures, if you prefer, that this kind of assistant can walk you through, right?
Yeah.
One way or the other. This is the first difference, right? That there's not one adventure, there's several of them. If we make that analogy.
And
second is that, as I give you the example of Siri, is that these are actually able to learn.
I think that's the point, yeah.
Right?
They are able to learn.
Exactly. And they remember what your interaction was. It's not just like save game, you are in this state.
Okay.
They remember what you did with them. They remember what other people did with them. They remember... they are able to learn from conversations and interactions they had, similar conversations to the one that you had. People that looked for this also looked for this, are also interested in this. So there's all these aspects. You can make recommendations. There's all this actual AI aspect to it that didn't exist in those chatbots. They were pretty much pre-scripted conversations. They were very clever, right, and impressive for the time.
Yeah.
But this is the whole different game, I believe. I think now, if you went back and tried to develop one of those text adventures with the technology we have today, it would be very interesting because you could come up with all kinds of creative things, alternative stories that the system could invent as they go.
I was thinking from time to time, taking the conversational API of Watson in Bluemix, and then you can make a mega map of a text adventure guiding the player.
Yeah, but that's what they did at the time. Instead of they've done it with code. The graphical thing might help you, but when it becomes too large, it doesn't help you anymore.
Yeah.
Well, the real trick is that, for example, in Watson it allows you to do that, to script your conversation.
Yeah.
But it's also able to, there are some building blocks in there that make your chatbot much smarter than the classic text adventures. Like the chatbot is able to understand in generic terms natural language.
Yeah.
And in a much more sophisticated way than before, right? The text adventures before were just looking for keywords, and if you didn't say that keyword, they would just say, "Sorry, I don't understand."
Yeah.
Right. And now, I mean, with those technologies, you can achieve much more.
Okay. Next question.
All right.
In the field of AI, it's very important to understand the words learning and training.
Right.
What do they mean?
Learning and training.
To put it a bit silly, do I have to put my computers now in school, or do I have to send my computers now to physical education? Yeah.
All right.
So, where's the relevance of these words, learning and training, in business processes and in the technological sense?
So let's take a business example, right? Let's say you have a process where you get letters in your company.
Yeah.
You receive mail, right? And then you basically have to, they come to your mailroom or your logistics center, depending on the size of your company. Let's say they come to your mailroom and you have somebody sorting them, right? Because they go to different places, there are different types of mail that go to different departments into different business processes, right? So this triage process, for example.
Yeah.
Well, you can teach a computer to take those documents and do it automatically.
Okay.
Right? How do you do that? First, you need a person to actually take actual documents and classify them and do the triage manually. So label them, say, this is a complaint, this is an invoice, this is this is all kinds of different letters that you can get.
Yeah.
So you need a person to do that, to label them. What do you do then there? So you have your labeled data, right? You have your letter and the tag classifying your letter, right?
Yeah.
You have that information. You do that considerable amount of times, right?
Yeah.
So you have a considerable amount of data that actually classified or labeled.
Yeah.
And this is typically done by a person. Then you can take that and feed it into a computer, into, for example, a machine learning based system.
Yeah.
And the computer will learn by example, by looking at those examples provided by people, and build a kind of statistical model that is able to then, that basically learns from those examples. That's called in the area supervised learning, right? So then the computer learned how to identify different documents, and then you can, when the next document comes, you hand it to the computer, and the computer gives the best guess, saying, well, this looks like an invoice.
Okay, so it's a bit like training a puppy dog.
It's not very different. It's by example, right? It's
training by example.
This is a way of where learning and training comes into place when you talk about AI. It's in the field of machine learning, where teaching the machine is done by example. You feed the machine with a series of examples, and these examples are usually given to the machine by a human.
Okay.
Or by several humans. Now, there is cleverer ways than the way that I described to create these data sets, these examples for the computer to learn, but this is a very basic
I hope so. Otherwise, these projects would be very long and the process would be very tedious. Yeah?
Some of them are, actually.
Okay.
Some of them take years because there is a lot of human intervention. And that brings us back to the topic that we discussed before about getting your people with the right mindset, because they are the ones that you're going to need in order to bring in this innovation in the company. you need to somehow capture the expertise. You need them to help you do this.
Okay, somehow I think this leads right to the next question, which is, how does this affect the processes in my company? Because that are tiny words, but carry a whole lot of meaning. So how are the processes in my company affected by
so for example,
these technologies?
Well, some of the processes might be shrinked, right? Because they are automated by systems like that.
That's the usual expectation.
Expectation, right?
Yeah, expectation.
And some of them even disappear, or at least they disappear. Okay. The human component of them nearly disappears, right? Yeah. If you're looking at taking existing processes and making them support them, improve them with AI or with technology, then what usually happens is that they tend to shrink, and you tend to need less people to do them. So you need more involvement of specialists while introducing them. But once they're in place, you need less people to actually do the operations, right? Yeah. You still need specialists to do some sort of continuous improvement and continuous taking the temperature of how your process is doing. Like any process, you need anyway somebody that takes care of the process itself, right? Yeah. This digital process supported by technology is not different. You still need somebody to take care of it, but you need less people probably for the actual operations.
And introduction, I guess, means more than just buying a software license.
Yes.
Or in parentheses, just getting a consulting team showing the people how to use the software.
For example.
It is more, I guess.
Yes, it is more.
Training.
Exactly. So there is typically a stage where a specialist or a team of specialists comes in together with the existing business specialists. They develop a sort of prototype or proof of concept. Yeah. But it needs to be together, right? Where they try to formalize the knowledge, somehow capture the knowledge that exists in this process, and automate it somehow, improve it with AI. This needs to be done, right? And at this stage is usually, or at least it is wise to have a phase where you're trying, you're doing prototyping, proof of concept.
Okay.
Once that's done, then you can plug it into a software. There is some custom component always that needs to be developed. It's not off the shelf. I buy a software, somebody comes in and trains me, and you're done. This is very rare.
So give us an idea what it will cost my company. Is it comparable to the introduction of ERP systems in the late 80s, early 90s, like the ones from SAP? Or even is it more fundamental, like the introduction of computers at all, where, for example, a plumber back then said in the 60s, I don't need computers in my companies, that is only for the big corporate players. I don't need to write my invoices with a computer, and now everyone does it.
Okay. As we were discussing before, in many cases this is about changing processes. So it's about changing the way people work and the way you do your business. So in a sense, it's comparable to introduction of, for example, ERP systems in the 80s or 90s, because there will be a change in the way how people work. Right? Yeah. And change is difficult to introduce, right? So what's different about that, I believe, is that this sort of innovation here, introducing this sort of innovation, cannot be done in the same way it was done in the 80s or the 90s, in the Big Bang approach. Like from one day to the next, I have boom, now I have SAP, and now you have to work this way instead of that way.
Okay.
I believe we learned, I think the world learned since then that that's not the right way to introduce change.
Okay, however, I have the feeling, due to the hype now about AI, the Big Bang is very tempting to many decision makers in companies.
Well, I mean, I think decision makers very quickly realized that Big Bang change doesn't work.
Okay.
Right? Or it's not efficient at all because you need buy-in from your people. Right? So there's two ways of introducing innovation, from what I've seen. One is slowly and steadily in existing organizations, existing processes. You need to do it in baby steps, step by step, progressively introducing innovation, because Big Bang will not get the buy-in of your organization.
Okay.
Typically. Right? The other way is, if you really need to be aggressive, which is the case nowadays in many cases, I mean, big companies have this approach now of creating a sort of spin-offs or small startups within their group. Sometimes they're even a separate company.
Yeah.
Where they work very agile and they can really be be quicker in introducing this kind of thing. But it usually comes together with new business, new product line, completely new processes designed as digital processes from scratch, and this kind of thing. Which then, it also becomes then a challenge to plug back into the existing processes of the older, larger organization. Yeah. So, I mean, there is no easy way of doing this. I think that's the lesson. Yeah. There are different approaches that worked, but definitely Big Bang introduction of ERP 80s, 90s, I don't think that's the right approach.
So it has to be done wisely.
It has to be done wisely, right? And keeping in mind that some of these things with AI are a hype. Yeah. And some things work, some things don't work. And big 10 million project might not be the right way of approaching this from the beginning, but rather trying small things here and there and see what it works, see what doesn't work, and then try to bet on the things that work.
Okay.
That's the...
Okay, great. I think it's a good time to wrap up, and
thank you.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to have this interview. That's Paulo Nunes from 2Impulse. And all the best for the future.
You're welcome. Thank you for the opportunity as well.